What did you want from your dad in terms of advocacy and expressions of love and support growing up as a kid, especially a daughter on the spectrum? Because I don't want to be the dad who finds out in 10 years or 15 years that I was blind to my child's needs. You know, I want to ask for some assistance, some help, some opinions. If anyone is actually seeing this, I've talked in the past about being a dad and about my daughter. I try not to go into detail because I don't see it as my role to divulge things, even my own thoughts to some degree about my daughter, because she has her own life. She's still young, but she's her own person. I don't want her to, look back and then see her dad on YouTube divulging or embarrassing her, So it's not my goal to be identifiable in that way. I take some issue with, let's just say I have mixed emotions about channels where parents are sort of exploiting their family situations and their offspring for numbers, for sheer numbers on YouTube. I don't want to ever be in that position. So I'm not going to, for instance, I'm not going to parade my daughter out and, have her be part of the channel. I want to talk sort of a little more generally because it's sensitive and I don't feel like I have the right. And I may just wind up taking these sorts of videos down at a certain point, even though I'm going to be much, much less explicit than many, many channels out there that talk about their kids. But that's just me. That's my boundary that I'm going to establish here. So my daughter is on the spectrum, and I guess I want help from folks, maybe women out there, but men too, because I really want to talk about parenting and what you wish now, looking back from an adult viewpoint, what you wish you got, what support you wish you got from your dad, and what sort of support or understanding you didn't get that maybe he was blind to. Because I don't want to be the dad who finds out in 10 years or 15 years that I was blind to my child's needs, or I was so misinterpreting them that I did more harm than good. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to find that out. And if I'm doing it, I want to find it out now. So I'm asking for an adult perspective from folks who might see this. And if you've been on the spectrum, if you're on the spectrum, especially, what kind of support you needed from your dad and got, and great, but spell it out for me, or what he missed, what you wish he'd done more of, or did it all, or did too much of. So here's the situation. We just got back this morning from a meeting with the school. My daughter has an IEP, and she's been having some issues in gym. And I had gotten a call months ago that she'd used some troubling language. And when I sat her down and we talked about it, it turns out that in gym, she felt pressured to perform at the level of the other kids and to perform, in a way that she was not comfortable with, and was getting the type of encouragement that you associate with a gym teacher, rah rah, and all that. And it turned out that those encounters with the gym teacher, she has all kinds of sensory issues, and they wanted her to wear these, filthy sneakers that were in the general pile of lost and found when she didn't bring her own in, and that sort of thing. That's a problem for a lot of kids on the spectrum, to the sensory relationship with their clothing, or worrying about germs, or all sorts of problems there that can lead to just a bad experience, an experience that they might not be able to cope with in the moment. So anyway, all of this was going on, right? And being pressured and pushed in that way, A, made her hate the gym teacher, made her hate gym, and B, made her really down on herself because she wasn't able to live up to those expectations. And that led to the troubling language. But that wasn't gotten to when the school interviewed her about her troubling language. And she came away from that feeling even worse, like it was her fault for feeling that way, for reacting that way. So she was in a bad place. And I got that out of her in our conversations, and I got pretty angry and called the school and told them, well, you didn't look very far into this if she's feeling blamed for her feelings about the situation and that there was nowhere to turn. What about her accommodations from her IEP? Why wasn't she allowed to take a break? Why wasn't she, why is there a program for kids with IEPs? The school touts itself as very friendly to neurodivergent populations, right? So one assumes that comes with an entire strata of accommodations in especially in classes and courses, things like gym, where there might be physical as well as developmental differences. But no, there wasn't. And it turns out the gym teacher is part-time. The gym teacher didn't know that she had any kids. Turns out she has more than just my daughter with an IEP, and hadn't been told that she had any, nor did she seek it out, although she is apparently an accredited teacher, a credentialed teacher. And I live in a state where all teachers, all subjects, are responsible for enforcing the accommodations in any child's IEP. So I made a stink about it, and I never wanted to come to the school and be that parent, right? But I also assumed that these things were already in place from the way that the school is sold. So it came to light that none of the specials, I don't know if you know the term specials, I'm not talking about special education when I say specials, I'm saying the non-core subjects are considered specials in the verbiage of the school system. And that's art and music and gym, things like that. And the core, I guess, is math and reading, English, history, maybe some science, I don't know. But those are core. And the others are specials. And specials teachers seem to have an implicit deal, not just at this school, but at a lot of schools, where they're not responsible for upholding accommodations. Unless you live in a state where they are, and we do. So I kind of lit a fire under that and said, I know, I looked into it. I know we're in a state that requires that. Why didn't the gym teacher have that in place? Why didn't you let her know? We met with the IEP team and heard things like, well, we give them that information, but we can't make them read it. That really got me angry. I was like, well, who can make them read it? Do I have to make them read it? Do I have to compel them to read it with a lawyer? I don't understand. What do you mean you can't? Who do they work for? They work for somebody, right? Whose job is it? It's not my job. It's my responsibility now, but it's not my job. So now I'm that guy who's getting people to sort of snap to. And I don't want to be that person, but now I am. So we just had a meeting today with the gym teacher and her main support person and the head of the school and me and my wife and my daughter. And it was a very good meeting, and they apologized, and the gym teacher apologized. And in my experience, gym teachers don't like to be the ones apologizing, but she did, and she did a great job saying that she now knows all of the accommodations under the law that are part of her IEP, and will abide by it and give her the breaks that she requires and the means to ask for them, and not pressure her, encourage her. Yes, we do want her encouraged, right? We want her to push herself to be as active as she can be, but not feel pressured, or there's a certain shame implicit in phys ed, I think, where, you know, go for that one more, no pain, no gain. And for a lot of kids, that's just too much. So none of that for her, but encouragement, sure. And that's a fine line, and I get it, it's hard, but sorry, that's what we need, and that's what we're gonna expect. So we came from that meeting, and in the meeting, my daughter listened. She sort of gets a faraway look in her eyes sometimes when she's in an uncomfortable situation. She put her head down on the desk as we were all talking on the conference table, but she could hear. And we checked in with her every now and then, and she was listening. But it's hard for some kids to be the center of a group of adults discussing them, right? So I was expecting this meeting to not go very well for multiple reasons. Me being one of them, sort of losing my cool, but I kept it in check. My wife has a way of keeping me in check just by being there sometimes. And it was all very adult and above board and cordial and productive, I think. But I keep looking at it from my daughter's point of view and wondering if she's, you know, masking through it, saying, yeah, she gets it. That's the problem a lot of times with kids. They just want to get out of that room with all the grown-ups, sort of dissecting them on one level or another. So I want to know from people who are on the spectrum, who are now grown, if anyone sees this. What would you have looked for from your parents, especially if you're a daughter, and what would you look for from your father in that moment? Because I kept wondering, should I be speaking up more for her? Should I be shielding her from this spectacle altogether? Nobody forced her to go, but we strongly encouraged her to do this, and she went along with it in the hopes of things getting better. But I think she thinks that it was all hot air, and that she's just going to have to mask more now and get through it more now until they prove, you know, the proof is in the pudding, that they want her to have fun in gym and they want things to get better. And I think it's going to happen if we are watching it like a hawk, unfortunately, downloading with her more than she wants to talk about school after school, right? And I just wonder where on the broad scheme of being a kid and going to school and being on the spectrum is the best place to fall down, to come down on advocating for your kid versus just letting them get through it. Because it surprises some people to hear that not all kids love school. I hated school, most of it. And everyone in my wife's family kind of loved it, it seems. And my kid, I really wanted her to have the benefit of the perspective of someone like my wife, and to get that from her. I wanted her to not be me. Mainly, I wanted her to not struggle like I did with school and these authority figures, and feeling like I had to keep up with topics and subjects and activities I just didn't care about. And I wish now, if I could go back, I would have a much more philosophical view of school and just get through it, but also not shut down so much. I haven't been tested for autism. I have ADHD, but I didn't do an autism test, so I don't think that I have that. But who knows? But she does. And she's wrestling with not just the school, but with how her parents react to her schooling. And we encourage her, we push her a little bit to do as well as she can. And she's really smart, right? I mean, the way I'm describing her, you may be forming a mental picture, but she's really smart. She's up in the 98th percentile in reading, for instance. Not quite as much in math, but doing okay in math. So she's really smart, but she really does have her challenges, especially in the social settings. And gym is a big social spectacle, you know, of performance, of physical out there performance. You take a test, you write an essay, nobody knows what you're doing, but you perform lesser in front of everybody in gym, be less coordinated than others in gym. It's out there. So does she need her parents really underscoring that in meetings like this one while she sits there and takes it? I don't know the answer. What did you want from your dad in terms of advocacy and expressions of love and support growing up as a kid, especially a daughter on the spectrum, but if you're a man also, if you're a man who had primarily a mom, please have at it. Tell me, just on a parenting level, where I'm going right, where I'm going wrong. Am I overthinking it? I'd love to course correct if I'm doing too much or too little here. And I'd love some perspective from people who've gone on to have a perspective on their childhood on the spectrum, looking back. So let me know how you feel about that, and what the best advice you can give to a dad in supporting his daughter on the spectrum to get through school. So chime in below if you happen to see this, if that fits you, if that fits your description in some way. I'd love to hear it. Hopefully things will get better. Hopefully we don't repeat these sorts of meetings with the other specials, because I have a feeling this one's being addressed because it was, you know, the fire to put out. I don't know that the other specials are being proactively prepared to toe the line. So far they haven't been a big problem though, so we'll see. We'll see. I look forward to talking to any of you that have something to say about this. I appreciate your time tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.